Picture yourself at the edge of an Ice Age camp after sunset. Beyond the firelight, several predators are watching. A cave lion could kill you. A hyena could steal your meat. A bear could tear open the shelter if it wanted to. And somewhere farther out, a pack of wolves is following the smell of blood from the animals your group butchered earlier that day. Every one of those animals is dangerous, yet only one of these large Ice Age predators eventually crosses the line from competitor to companion. The wolf becomes the dog. So why wolves? Why did early humans build a lasting domestic relationship with an animal that could bite, compete for meat, and hunt many of the same prey, while lions, hyenas, bears, and other powerful carnivores remained wild? The first answer seems obvious. Humans must have captured wolf pups, raised the friendliest ones, and slowly turned them into dogs. That may have happened, but it is not enough. People have captured and tamed young wild animals throughout history without creating a domesticated species. Taming changes an individual. Domestication changes a population across generations. For wolves to become dogs, humans and wolves had to remain close enough, often enough, for long enough that selection could reshape behavior, reproduction, and eventually anatomy. The real mystery is not why one wolf could become friendly. It is why a human-wolf relationship could become stable. Start with the timing. Dogs were the first animals to enter a domestic relationship with humans, long before cattle, sheep, pigs, or farming. Research led by Anders Bergström and colleagues shows that clearly recognizable early dogs were already present by the closing part of the Ice Age. A 2026 genomic study of ancient dogs places probable dog remains at European sites such as Bonn-Oberkassel, Kesslerloch, Le Marin, Irala, and Paglici between roughly 14,000 and 17,000 years ago. But the genetic story suggests the relationship began before the earliest unquestioned dog skeletons. Exactly where it happened is still unknown. Bergström and colleagues analyzed ancient wolf genomes in a 2022 Nature study, including 72 wolves spanning about 100,000 years. Modern and ancient dogs were genetically closer overall to ancient wolves from Eastern Eurasia than to the Western Eurasian wolves sampled in the study. Yet none of those ancient wolves was the direct ancestral population. That matters. There is no single fossil wolf that researchers can point to and say, this is the population humans domesticated. The origin is still partly missing, but the biology of wolves gives you the first major clue. Imagine trying the same experiment with a solitary predator. You find a young animal, you feed it. It learns that you are not a threat. Perhaps it even tolerates your presence, then it grows up. Its natural social system may not include coordinated group living with unrelated partners. It may defend food aggressively. It may hunt alone. It may have little evolutionary reason to pay close attention to the movements, intentions, and emotional signals of other individuals outside mating or territorial encounters. A wolf begins from a very different foundation. Wolves are intensely social. They live in family groups. They coordinate movement. They defend territory together. They raise young in a social environment. They monitor one another. They negotiate access to food. They communicate through posture, facial expression, scent, vocalization, and movement. In other words, humans did not have to invent cooperation inside the wolf. Evolution had already done much of that work. This is where the story becomes counterintuitive. Dogs are often treated as if domestication created cooperation from an antisocial wolf ancestor. Experiments do not support such a simple picture. In 2017, Sarah Marshall-Pacini and colleagues tested similarly raised wolves and dogs in a cooperative task that required two animals to pull ropes together to obtain food. Wolves actually outperformed dogs in cooperation with members of their own species. Think about what that means. The raw material for complex social coordination was already present in wolves before domestication. Humans were not turning a solitary killing machine into a social animal. They were entering into a relationship with a predator whose survival already depended on understanding partners. That does not make wolves safe. It makes them compatible in a very specific way. A wolf can be dangerous and cooperative at the same time. Your ancestors could recognize that because humans operate by a similar contradiction. A human hunting group can be lethal to outsiders and deeply cooperative within the group. Survival depends on reading intentions, sharing information, coordinating movement, and forming durable social bonds. Two highly social predators were meeting on the same landscape. But social intelligence alone cannot explain domestication. Hyenas are social too. Some live in extremely complex societies. Lions cooperate. Other carnivores can tolerate group members. So something else had to reduce the cost of living near humans. That something may have been food. Picture a cold, late Pleistocene winter. Your group kills a large herbivore. Meat looks like wealth, but your body cannot live on unlimited lean protein. Humans need enough fat or carbohydrates to balance the diet. In very cold environments, prey can be extremely lean during difficult seasons. This creates a strange situation. You can possess edible animal tissue that is valuable to a wolf, but less useful to you than fattier portions. Maria Laitinen and colleagues explored this idea in a 2021 scientific report study. They calculated that during severe Ice Age winters, humans in northern environments may have had more lean protein available from prey than their bodies could efficiently use. Wolves, with different dietary constraints, could consume more of that meat. Suddenly, the wolf beside your camp is not competing for every calorie. Some of the food you value least may be exactly what it values most. That creates room for tolerance. Perhaps people deliberately feed certain wolves. Perhaps bold but less aggressive wolves approach kills or camps more closely. Perhaps pups are occasionally taken and raised. Perhaps several processes happen in different places. Researchers still debate the exact route. The old image of wolves simply living from piles of human garbage is especially uncertain for highly mobile Paleolithic hunter-gatherers, who did not necessarily produce the enormous permanent refuse heaps associated with later settlements. But the important point is broader. For domestication to begin, wolves needed a repeatable reason to remain near humans without every encounter ending in a fight over resources. Food could provide that reason. Now add another advantage. Wolves and humans were interested in many of the same things: large herbivores, carcasses, travel routes, water. Open terrain, animal movement. That overlap normally creates competition, but once tolerance begins, the overlap can also create information. Imagine you are sleeping near the edge of camp. A wolf detects something before you do. Its hearing catches movement in darkness. Its nose finds a scent you cannot detect. Its posture changes before a large animal approaches. Even before wolves become trained hunting partners, simply having tolerant canids nearby could alter what humans notice around camp. Humans offer wolves something equally important: access to food, potential protection from other predators. A relationship with another dangerous social species. The first useful wolf did not need to retrieve a spear or obey a command. It only needed to be slightly more valuable alive nearby than dead or driven away. That tiny difference is enough for selection to begin. Now imagine two wolf populations. One reacts to humans with extreme fear or aggression. Those animals stay away, attack, or are killed. The other contains individuals willing to approach at a safer distance. They can eat near people without immediately escalating conflict. They reproduce generation after generation. The wolves most capable of surviving around humans leave more descendants in that human-associated environment. Humans do not need to understand genetics. Selection works anyway. Later, people may begin choosing pups, controlling breeding, moving dogs between groups, or favoring animals with useful behaviors. But the earliest stage could have been much messier. This is why the word domestication can be misleading. It sounds like a human invention. The beginning may have been closer to a negotiation between two species, and wolves possessed another crucial advantage over many large predators. Their social development could be redirected toward humans. A wolf raised with intense human contact can form relationships with people and learn human signals. But domestication pushed this ability much further. In 2021, Hannah Salomons and colleagues compared dog puppies with wolf puppies that had extensive human interaction. Dog puppies were much more likely to approach unfamiliar humans and were more skilled at using human communicative gestures, such as following a pointing cue. The striking part was their age. These abilities appeared early in development. That suggests domestication did not merely teach dogs a set of tricks. Selection changed how readily their developing brains treated humans as social partners. The wolf already had the social toolkit. Domestication changed where that toolkit could be aimed. This helps explain why the story did not repeat with every impressive predator around the camp. Consider a cave lion powerful, intelligent, potentially tameable as an individual, but expensive to feed, extremely dangerous when mature, and built around a social and hunting system that offered humans fewer easy pathways toward thousands of generations of close reproduction under human influence. Consider a bear. A young bear can learn to tolerate people. An adult bear is enormously powerful, consumes large amounts of food, and does not depend on the kind of coordinated pack cooperation that made wolf social behavior such useful raw material. Consider a hyena social in some species, intelligent, and ecologically close to humans. But hyenas were also formidable competitors at carcasses. Their feeding ecology, anatomy, social structure, and relationship with human food sources created a different balance of costs and benefits. There was no single magical wolf trait. The wolf occupied a rare intersection: social enough, flexible enough, close enough to human camps and prey, useful enough, feedable enough, capable of forming durable bonds, and crucially, capable of producing generation after generation inside a relationship that humans could increasingly influence. Remove one of those pieces and domestication becomes much harder. This is also where the title needs one important qualification. Wolves were not literally the only predatory species humans would ever domesticate. Cats became domesticated much later, especially in the agricultural world where grain stores attracted rodents and rodents attracted wildcats. But that actually strengthens the mystery. Cats entered through a different ecological door. Agriculture created concentrated rodent populations around settlements. Wildcats that tolerated humans gained access to prey. Humans benefited because the cats killed pests. Wolves entered far earlier. No farms, no grain stores, no permanent towns required. The relationship emerged in a hunter-gatherer world between two predators that could easily have remained enemies. That is what makes the wolf exceptional. By the time you reach Bonn-Oberkassel in Germany, around 14,000 years ago, the relationship is no longer just theoretical. A dog was buried there with two humans. Luke Janssens and colleagues later re-examined the juvenile dog and argued that it had suffered serious illness before death, surviving long enough that human care may have been necessary. Whether every detail of that care can be reconstructed is uncertain, but the burial itself is unmistakably important. A predator lineage had crossed an extraordinary boundary. It was no longer simply an animal outside the fire. It could belong inside the human social world. And newer genomic work makes the story even more complex. The 2022 Ancient Wolf study found evidence that dog ancestry reflects contributions related to more than one ancient wolf population. Research published in 2026 pushes genetically confirmed Paleolithic dogs farther back and shows dogs already spread widely across Western Eurasia by the late Ice Age. The neat story of one tribe adopting one lucky litter and creating every dog is almost certainly too simple. Domestication was a process, possibly a long one, probably involving changing wolf populations, human groups, movement, interbreeding, and repeated contact across enormous landscapes. So return to your fire. A lion watches from darkness. A hyena waits for an opportunity. A bear passes through. The wolf stays at the edge, not because it is harmless, not because your ancestors somehow know it will become a dog, and not because wolves are naturally obedient. It stays because, under the right conditions, the cost of approaching humans can be lower than the benefit. Your ancestors tolerate it because, under the right conditions, the cost of allowing it nearby can be lower than the benefit. That narrow zone of mutual tolerance is the beginning. Then social intelligence turns tolerance into communication. Food turns proximity into repetition. Repetition turns strangers into familiar individuals. Selection reduces fear and changes development. Human choices intensify the process. And eventually, the animal standing beyond the fire is no longer quite a wolf. The deepest answer is not that early humans defeated a predator and forced it into obedience. It is almost the opposite. Wolves were uniquely positioned among the large Ice Age carnivores to enter a partnership because they were already experts at the thing human survival also depended on: living, hunting, communicating, and negotiating inside a social group. The first dog did not begin when a human learned how to control a wolf. It began when two dangerous social predators discovered that for once, cooperation could pay better than competition.